What's up, Wolverines? You're back with a couple former coaches, Coach Blade and his son, Rob Thornblade, here talking about the Michigan Northwestern game after the whistle with Coach Blade, presented to you by Robert Thornblade LLC. That's the only
There you go.
sponsor.
There you go. That's an incorporate. That's an S corp.
That's our only sponsor right now. But we're here to break down the Michigan victory, 22-21 over the Northwestern Wildcats in Wrigley Field. So
Sponsorships are available.
yeah, sponsorships
For
are
a
available.
minimal amount. Okay, send $1. We'll mention you.
Please
Hey,
subscribe. Please comment. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But we had a thrilling victory. Obviously, walk-off kick to win the game.
What a remarkable victory.
Yes.
How in the world you can make that many mistakes? Turn the ball over that many times.
-5 in the turnover category, Coach.
And still prevail is remarkable. And so there's a lot to criticize, but there's some wonderful things in there. I think young Marsh, the receiver, put us on his back in a lot of ways, along with Jordan Marshall, who I understand apparently the results of the X-ray on his shoulder came back good, negative. But I don't know. If he has a sore, bruised shoulder, it's going to be tough the way he runs, and he's a workhorse. But he was wonderful, and I thought that Bryce started out great, 8 for 8, and he completed some deep passes, and Marsh was part of that, along with McCulley. And then, Zavada came through when he had to. And I want to mention this. The offensive line, who, everyone's been concerned about the offensive line. The last 2 weeks, the offensive line on the last drive has taken the last 2 games, has taken the team on their back and prevailed by just being great and being tenacious and blocking because we made a couple passes in both of those drives, but not enough to sustain the drives. It was done by some tough, gritty performances up front when we ran the ball effectively, and we were able to take the ball down there and prevail and put the victory away at Purdue, but also take the ball down and get in a position to kick the winning field goal last week. And that's a big deal. That's winning football. Even when you overcome the adversity of all those self-inflicted wounds, that there's something to be said for that. Everybody's critical of these victories. They don't like the margin. They don't like that we're not perfect. We're starting 6 freshmen. 6. Now, that includes redshirt freshmen. Woody Hayes used to say, for every sophomore that starts, you will have 1 defeat. Well, these are freshmen, and they're young guys, and they're playing real hard. There's been some criticism of our coach, and I think that's really misplaced. We're 8-2. We're tied for 3rd in the Big Ten. Of course, Indiana's ahead, undefeated. Indiana's dominating every category statistically in the Big Ten also. The number 1 team in turnover differential in the country is Indiana, and that tells you something about the quality of play and the discipline, and they're rushing the ball, and they're balanced, and they're playing great defense. So Indiana, Ohio State's follow. They have 1 game in hand, Indiana. So Ohio State's behind them, and then SC, Michigan, and Oregon are all tied for 3rd in the Big Ten with 1 loss. Now, we have 2 losses, and they're critical of Sharon Moore. In the National Football League, the best teams, all have 2 losses. Everybody has 2 losses. So in this age of parity, it's going to be very difficult to go undefeated, to go unscathed, particularly when you're starting a young quarterback and you have so many young players in the game. So it's been a great season. Everything we want to accomplish is there. It's in front of us. Now we got to beat a Maryland team who just gave support and an endorsement to their coach Loxley. They're going to go out and get a lot more NIL money. That is their aim and goal. The athletic director articulated this so they can be competitive in the portal and be competitive recruiting with NIL money. So Loxley, who played at Alabama, who coached at Alabama, was Saban's offensive coordinator. You know he's a good coach. Saban doesn't have bad coaches around him. And they also have Pep Hamilton, a familiar friend of ours, who was the assistant head coach and coached at Michigan, coached the quarterbacks back in the, I think, 2017 or something like that, to 2019, and then has a lot of experience in the NFL. So
Yeah.
they have quality coaches, and they have a very fine freshman quarterback, like we do, who has tremendous potential.
Well, Coach, getting back to Wrigley Field, talking about our performance there, looked like it was a home game for Michigan over on Lake Michigan. We had a
Well,
lot of, obviously,
played hard.
yeah, played hard, Coach. Obviously, you can talk about
Great credit to Northwestern.
the 5 turnovers, you can talk about the missed field goals, but I saw a lot of lost points. Okay, we had our touchdown called back, we had 2 field goals that were missed. And then at the end, we had a fumble. We had a handoff. Bryce and the young freshman or younger running back Kuzadal. Or how do you say
that? Was strictly on, I should mention that was strictly on Bryce. He handed the ball off to him in the neck with the handoff.
When you're 6'5", you got to get it in the gut. But that's 4 times that we didn't get points on the board that we were down there. We talked about how imperative scoring in the red zone was. I think, obviously we're still making way too many mistakes, but just wanted to point out if we get points right there, it's a whole different Saturday. What everybody's saying about Sharon Moore and Bryce Underwood is a whole different conversation. Now, he's still 18. He's still a young kid. I was thrilled the way he played. Coach, throwing 2 interceptions, coming back and leading us down to get us in field goal position. He made a critical decision to run the ball. He tucked it away and he got down. He made a lot of smart plays. The smart plays I saw him make is he was looking downfield and he said, you know what? Let me just get a first down. Let me throw the stop route. Let me throw the check down. There were multiple times, even on the broadcast, they said, look, this is what they're waiting for Bryce Underwood to do, and then he checks it down. So I saw tremendous growth, 280 yards through the air. I would rather have him throw picks against Northwestern than in the last week of the season. Now I don't want him to. I don't want to see him throw any picks, but he's going to fight through it.
Forcing the ball, particularly when he's throwing in the middle. Those are small windows. I think he is accustomed because he has such great arm strength that in high school you just throw past guys, and so he's got the games, he's playing against different kind of guys. So I think he could throw those passes and get away with them for the last 3 years. But now that's not going to happen. And, Northwestern did a thing where they would run those safeties down the lane to support the run, but they'd also hang them back underneath. So some of those guys he couldn't see. But he's got to be really cautious throwing the ball in the middle. And not just rely on his arm strength. If they're open, they're open. But if not, you cannot force it in there because, he's going to get picked off. And then our defense, of course, I thought responded well against a game in a resilient, tough Northwestern team.
Their line blocked. Their line showed toughness. They blocked very, very well against us, Coach.
And we talked about that line has been developing. Now they were missing, one of the best rushers. The kid that came in did a nice job, and I might give some kudos to our guy Kuzdell. He comes in there and he runs hard, and he made positive yards. He held on to the ball, thank God, and so I think I like him. I like him, and we might have to rely on him, against Maryland.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to deviate from what we do.
No.
But we're getting thin in the running back position. I think Justice Haynes is out, and that's expected. We're not going to see him again. They just operated on his foot, and what a great player! He still remains, I think, number 3 in the league, and maybe number 4 in rushing, and the third best rusher in the league right now is Jordan Marshall. Our guy. Who's done such a wonderful job, all year. When they put everything on him when he had to carry every the ball all the time. He's been tremendous. I mean, he's responded to that, and he's been great. Um, so I'm optimistic. So we're 8-2, and I always say if you can get 10 wins in any football season in college, that's a remarkable season, really. I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there. We lost to an Oklahoma team that just beat Alabama at home. And we know how good that material is. Who had his hand operated on after he played us, and is still able not throw. He didn't throw for a lot of yards against Alabama, but he led them to victory. And their defense played outstanding. But our defense continues to play outstanding. We still struggle in the red zone. Only 77% in the red zone. Zavada, who missed a 60-yarder, which we'll forgive him, can't miss the ones that he should hit. Now, there was a lot of wind in that stadium. But, now their kicker, at Maryland's very good. And he's been, I think 90% of the time, I think Zavada's down to only 65% of the time. But I have great faith in him. We know what he can do. He's done it in the past. In my sense, he'll do it again. And it'll be critical in these two games that we come away with points. We cannot be 77% in the red zone. We cannot be. We have to. All the good teams are over 90% in the red zone, and that means a field goal to come away with points or a touchdown. We cannot afford when we get down there to squander those opportunities and not come away with points. So we got to do that. Now, a couple times that red zone that counted against us, we were putting the game away and chose not to score. And that's all part of the statistic. But still, all the top teams in the conference, every one of them is over 90%. And that's what you have to be. By the same token, our defense has done a pretty good job of denying the other team's scores. So, we're right there at the end. We said last week it's survive and advance, and that's what it is now. And we're going to get people's best shot. Now, Michigan, like Notre Dame, Alabama, all the great teams that have this great traditions are going to get the best shot from their opponents. They're going to rise up and try to play their very best game because, they're playing people that they respect, teams they respect. Michigan is one of those, the winningest team in college football history. And most of these schools we have a winning record against. All of them, I suspect. There's nobody that plays us that we don't have a winning record against, I think. There might be a couple teams we've only played 2 or 3 times, but any team we play consistently, we beat them by a large percentage, high percentage. We've beaten them over the years, so we're going to get their best shot. And I have a lot of respect for the young coach at Northwestern. People looking for a coach. He's one of the best coaches in the country, and the staff's doing a great job. Those kids play hard, man.
I loved what he said after the game. He goes, "We're not just going to be happy with you gave Michigan your best shot. I don't care." He goes, "I'm sick of hearing it from the refs, from the fans, from the every." He said, "We want to beat Michigan. We want to win the Big Ten title. That is our goal here." So he's great. And talking about their defense, coach, we had the RPO. I want to touch on both this. We had the RPO going. He sat those. He had the safeties coming down all first half. That was strategic.
Right,
and then he said, "Hey, sit on that RPO. You're not run support anymore." He switches run support. Those guys and Bryce telegraphs his throw, and it's a big turnover. That is a coaching decision right there. I mean, I think the kids obviously made the plays, but that was the strategy.
Good halftime adjustments. And I also want to point out to all the naysayers out there that, we showed it after SC. Every game we've played, we've made halftime adjustments that have been really productive and meaningful and really affected the outcome of the game. I have a lot of confidence in our defensive coordinator. Now, he's going to be challenged by this young passer and our team will be challenged by this young passer, Malik Washington from Maryland, because this is a passing team. We're playing a team that passes the ball. They are not a running team. They run the ball, I think, 41% of the time, and they throw it 59% of the time. It's a passing team. And there's nobody that's run the ball for a lot of yards. Now Malik Washington can come out and run the ball. He's gained almost 30 yards coming out. And he doesn't, for a guy who's probably going to have sacks count against him, he's not dissimilar from Bryce.
I know.
And he's throwing the ball. He's only completing 58% of the time, but they throw the ball all the time. Their running back has caught well over, their two running backs have caught well over the ball, well over 44 times. That means 4.4% of the 4.4 passes per game are going to go to the running back. And then the tight end has caught well over 30 balls. They have 5 guys that have caught over 30 balls. So we're going to see a passing team. Now their average yards per completion is only 7 yards, which means there's a lot of short passes, and so those are equivalent to runs for them.
Well, we'll get there, Coach. Let's put to bed Northwestern.
Northwestern, my heart has stopped beating, and I survived. I survived it. Thank God. And then I watched, Michigan play TCU in basketball. So those 2 games gave me great angst. I don't know if I cared too much, but these things that go down to the last minute. But the big thing is I always go back to old Al Davis. Just win, baby. Just win. And when you play away games in the Big Ten Conference, and Sharon talked about this, it is not easy. It is not easy to win, and I don't care who you're playing. We played a team that is now 5-5, and is probably going to get to a bowl game.
No, go ahead, Coach. Sorry, I think they're going to get to a bowl game too. I just wanted to point out Marsh for 189 yards broke the record.
That's a heck of a performance.
Kuzadal, how do you say his name?
Kuzdal, I guess.
Kuzadal from Forest Hills came in and played a heck of a game, 53 yards, marched us down there.
Well, he came in at a crucial time.
496.
We were behind.
Yeah.
He assisted in winning the game by being smart, running hard, hitting the holes. And so, that's a heck of a job for that guy.
We outgained him.
We're going to count on him.
496 yards on offense versus their 200 and something. So those turnovers might not have showed up, but mattered at the end. But our yards and how we played mattered. Then one thing I wanted to point out about our defense, because I've been hard on our defensive line, and with the new linebackers, our defensive line was gap responsible, Coach, and they tipped a lot of critical balls.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So the guys who are going to get the sacks for us are the edge guys, or Rolder and those guys when he sinks the linebackers. But the defensive line guys are holding up in there. And a lot of times, particularly the defensive tackle who's in the A gap in between the center and the guard is usually taking on two guys, and they hold up good in there. And, we're one of the best teams against the rush. I think we're only giving up 80 yards a game rushing. Anytime you can limit the team, the other team's ability to run the ball effectively, and force them in a passing situation, that's a great advantage to the defense. And then we can play the way we want to play. I did think he blitzed one time when they hit us, where I just didn't feel like that quarterback was so good that we had to, and sometimes on 3rd and long,
we got to get pressure with 4.
Well, get pressure with 4. Count on those great Moore and Barham and TJ.
Barham's playing disciplined. He's playing more disciplined. He's learning his position, and he's playing better. I'm telling you.
Well, he just switched that position too, so he's new to that position. Now Barham started I might mention, he started at Maryland before he transferred. Was a freshman linebacker of the year, one of the freshmen of the year, I think, defensive freshman player of the year when he played at Maryland. So that's been, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Switching, going to the right M. But he's learning the position. It takes a long time. I want people to reflect on their own careers and their own how they've evolved. It takes a while to be good at what you're doing. You just don't show up and all of a sudden you're great at whatever you do. And experience. There's only one way you get that, and that's through doing it. experiential learning. And so these kids are young. And a lot of them are like, and Barnham is new to his position. So they're learning and they're getting better and they're winning. They're winning. I would rather, winning. You win. And they rise up at the end to win. Now they put themselves in bad positions. They've done it for the last 2 games, and they got to quit the mistakes, cut out the mistakes. If we get to any place where we don't make mistakes and shoot ourselves in the foot, I think that we have great potential. Now we can do whatever we want to do now, and what we want to do is win the next 2 games. But we have to go to Maryland, and we have to immediately put doubt in Maryland's mind. Put doubt in their mind. Because right now, people think they can get Michigan because of these subpar performances. So right away, we got to go there, and we cannot turn the ball over. And we have to have great special teams play. We can't fumble punts. We can't do those things. And so, they switch Marsh to kickoffs and punts. So that's a lot of responsibility. Starting wide receiver and kickoff and punts. But if that's what they have to do, so we field the punts correctly, that's what we must do. Because when we don't field the punt, that flips the field on us. And, when you give them let the ball bounce and they get another 15 yards off a punt, that's bad. By the same token, we're punting much better.
Well,
we're 39.9% on the most important play in football on our net punt. And we're doing a good job of coverage. So now they did that one fake punt. We could have seen that coming because they all collected right in front, but they only had to gain a few yards or a yard or so to make that
1 yard. Yeah.
Yard. So and they didn't get a lot. They didn't get a lot, but that's okay. We learned from that, and would have been nice to stuff them there, but that's hard to do. And when the direct snap to the fullback, and then they got that yard early on. But holy cow, we won the game, and I say holy cow out of admiration and respect for Harry Carey, who said holy cow all the time when he was broadcasting in that iconic stadium, that baseball stadium. But now we go away again.
Well, Coach, we hit the walk off in hit the walk off in Ridley. We hit the walk off home run in Ridley.
Yeah,
we're putting the game away. That's all we're going to talk about at Northwestern. Really appreciate you, Coach. Let's end here.
Well, I'm not frustrated during the course of the game. Of course, oh my God, and no one should ever question, our affiliation. All my children went to Michigan. My brother went to law school. My sister went to nursing school. Everybody's Michigan. We're all not only fans, but we went to school there, worked there. My one daughter's working in the engineering department there. So we have a tremendous bias. And it's we care deeply about the team. And I want to appreciate the team and not just criticize, and look at a lot of the good things they're doing. And also remember, they're young kids who didn't make mistakes. And I ask people to look at reflect on their own lives. Did you make mistakes when you were young? Yeah. And so we're going to do that. And these are not grievous mistakes because it's in a game. It's during the course of a game. But we want to eliminate the mistakes. Mistake proof. No mistakes. MA. We call them in football, NMA, missed assignments. And penalties and turnovers will kill you. And they almost killed us. We didn't have to hold when I don't believe that Sprague had to hold there in order for that game to be there was nobody on the perimeter for Marshall to run that TD in. Then Barham goes offside at a critical time against the defense. He's got to be better than that. And he wants to get a jump on the ball, and I appreciate that. But they just got to eliminate mistakes. They make a ton of mistakes. God bless them. But they prevail. So, yeah, it'll drive you crazy. We don't expect perfection, but as coaches, you get what you emphasize. So they have to really look at these mistakes, and they have to really preach that how to eliminate them. I like Chip Lindsey. I like our coordinators. I like our coaches. I really like Sharon. And And I want people to support him. He's a young man, so not only do we have young players, we have a young coach who's learning
Well,
as
Coach,
he goes.
let's get rid of the MAs. Let's march on to Maryland, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Go Blue.